Hi, and welcome back. I'm John Dawson. When I was 45, I remember sitting at my desk late one evening, staring at the glow of my monitor, and everyone else had gone home. The building was quiet, and I had this strange thought. Is this just it? Not in a dramatic way, not in a crisis way, just a quiet realization that the path in front of me looked very predictable. Keep climbing, keep performing, keep staying relevant, and then retire someday. Someday. At 45, I genuinely believed I was going to work until I died. Not because I hated my job, I actually loved a lot of it. I loved building teams, I loved solving hard problems, I loved being in tech at a time when everything felt like it was accelerating. But the default assumption was that work lasted forever. Everyone around me reinforced it. Colleagues in their late 50s, still grinding, still optimizing, still competing. I assumed that that would be me. What I didn't admit out loud was that I was tired. Not burned out, just aware that I couldn't run at that speed indefinitely. And there was another fear under the surface. I was afraid I would look up one day and be 75, still working, still responsible, still telling myself that travel and freedom would come later. That fear wasn't dramatic. It didn't keep me up at night, but it was there. The real shift happened at a kid's birthday party. I was talking with a friend in his early 30s. He mentioned he had started investing in real estate. And we ended up talking for a long time about replacing income instead of just increasing it. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't motivational. It was practical. But I went home unsettled. I remember thinking very clearly, if I don't build an exit, there is no exit. That sentence stuck with me. And from that point forward, I started looking at my life differently. Not just in terms of career growth, but in terms of optionality. My wife and I set a very specific goal with a very specific timeline, not to build an empire, just to build freedom. 5 years later, we hit it. If 45-year-old me could see my life now, he wouldn't be impressed by the mechanics. He'd be shocked by the calm. Waking up without urgency, having space in the day, not feeling like the clock is chasing you. At 45, I underestimated how fast time moves. I was thinking in 5-year increments at best. I wasn't picturing 55. I wasn't picturing 65. I still felt strong enough that the pace seemed sustainable. It wasn't. I also overestimated how permanent my role was. I had strong performance reviews. I had built teams. I had built projects that depended on me. It felt stable until it didn't. That was clarifying. No matter how essential you feel, the machine keeps moving. Organizations evolve, role shifts, people get replaced. And that's not cynicism, it's reality. And if I were 45 again, I would still work hard. I don't regret my ambition. I don't regret pushing myself. I don't regret caring deeply about excellence, but I would think differently. I would spend more time in conversation with my future self. At 45, I wasn't asking what my 55-year-old self might need. I wasn't asking what he might wish I had protected. I would protect time more fiercely. Time doesn't regenerate. You can build wealth, you can improve your health, you can repair relationships, but time only moves forward. I would also start building optionality earlier, not in a flashy way, not through complicated strategies, just steady discipline, the kind that feels boring at first and life-changing later. And I would think beyond the career path. When I was managing teams, we talked constantly about promotions and growth tactics and compensation bands, but we rarely talked about designing the later chapters of life. And looking back, I wish I had widened those conversations. Not in formal meetings, just honestly over a drink, talking about what freedom might look like. Because if you never think about the exit, you usually don't get to choose it. Would I try to retire by 50 again? If I could, yes. Not because 50 is magical, but because once you experience life with margin, it's very hard to go back to constant urgency. Work can be meaningful, but it's still a chapter. And if I were 45 again, I would assume that chapter was temporary and start shaping what comes next sooner. So if you're 45 right now, I'm not telling you to copy my path. I'm just inviting you to question the assumption that work has to last forever. Are you only building a career, or are you quietly building your freedom too? If this resonates, I'd love to hear what you would tell your 45-year-old self. And if you're enjoying these conversations, consider subscribing. I'm building these slowly and honestly. And as always, thank you for tuning in to John Dawson Retirement.